Hello, friends. Hello, naked Russell Crowe staring out at a green screened beach while throwing a rock stump around to Sunday Cinematic Service, the weekly review series where we take a work of faith based cinema, TV, music, whatever it is, anything faith based, and analyze it, see how it holds up, mainly badly, from my experience.
From our experience thus far,
Yeah. This week we do the 2014 film Noah, Darren Aronofsky's attempt to bring the Bible up to date with the kids through Lord of the Rings style terrible CGI battles and nonsense.
Rock monsters, don't forget the rock monsters.
The rock monsters are a big part of the film, we'll get to that. Noah follows Noah, the character, as he tries to build his ark because humanity is doomed to be killed in a giant flood, and he has to save two of every animal. But bizarrely, the animal section of the film is not. Does he even mention the two of every animal in the film?
Yeah, he must do.
He does.
I think we've already talked over most of our viewing, to be honest.
Okay. But yeah, saves two of every animal. Anyone who's not seen the film, don't. But we'll get into more of the plot there. The film was a big extravaganza trying to make like a blockbuster out of the biblical text. Got big actors in it: Russell Crowe, Jennifer Connelly, Emma Watson. Huge amounts of CGI and green screens and action scenes. Basically, trying to make it into a blockbuster structure. So, how well do you think that Noah works as a film? Chris, what did you think after we just watched the film?
Well, it's the first time I've seen Noah since I saw it in the cinema when me and you went to go see it.
5 years ago, yeah.
I can't really say I've thought about Noah since, but my memories of Noah were mildly positive, borderline hot messy. Now I think any kind of positive is just basically hot messy. I do think there's some good elements in Noah, some interesting moments, but they are easily outweighed by the numerous terrible and baffling decisions made. It was a fun experience watching it again, but it's just because we were watching it, the three of us together. But as a film, it's kind of dull and a bit plodding, collapses under its own internal weight. But I'm sure we'll get into that more in the actual discussion itself. So,
Heath, any opening thoughts or just similar?
Not anything dissimilar. It is interesting that like it fails on like so many levels in regards to like it's not really an accurate retelling of the Bible story, and it's not really this great epic fantasy that Aronofsky imagined it to be. It fails on so many levels. But yeah, I thought it was great.
Well, you were saying that you think it's the best film ever made, don't you? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's not only like
weirdly this film, yeah.
I was gonna say it's not only the best retelling of the Noah story; it's just the best retelling of any story ever.
Yeah, the best adaptation of all time.
Yeah, it won an Oscar for that, right? Best adapted screenplay.
Actually, it won that and Best Picture. I think Aronofsky a director's Oscar as well.
Yeah.
Looking into it though, this is actually the same year that I didn't know this. The Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies was this year.
Oh no!
It's like a Lord of the Rings rip-off. Came in the same time as like the end of the Lord of the Rings sort of. Until like what's the thing called? Silmarillion or Salamarian?
The Silmarillion.
The Silmarillion. Until that comes out, do you actually think that will come out?
No.
He's just done now with Lord of the Rings.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily even that. I think it's more that I don't think the Tolkien estate would sell them the rights. Like, basically, they're able to make The Hobbit through, like, legal wranglings and jumping through loopholes, but no one owns the rights to the rest of Tolkien's works.
Yeah.
So the Tolkien estate, I don't think could ever sell them to. Anyway, this is a different topic, yeah.
But I think Lord of the Rings is clearly what this is trying to weigh. Like, I don't think there's any question that it's trying to be anything other than like big epic fantasy, like I mean, the rock monsters are clearly supposed to be like the tree people. What are the tree people called?
The Ents.
The Ents. I know one of them's called Treebeard.
Yeah, Treebeard and the Ents. Yeah.
Like that scene, as you say, like where they like try and you actually went to the bathroom during it, but when they like
the scene he was like waiting the whole movie for, he had to go to the bathroom while it was happening. That's God punishing you right there.
Basically, yeah, nature called. Unfortunately, I don't know whether it's through divine intervention, but yeah, I was pumped to be seen. And I was like, fuck. Oh well, I yeah, I pretty much know what I missed.
You know how much you missed.
I know how much I missed. Yeah, I assume it was a bit like when the Ents attack Christopher Lee at the end of the second movie. You know, like the last march at the end. So it's like, you know, the last march for stone rock giants, angel things, whatever they are.
Yeah, it was just a big basic. The problem with the action scenes in this and all is that everything's done in that way where, like, I'm assuming there must be something where they didn't want to mess with light too much, because it's like that. The overcast basically makes it completely like the dead of night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it not only does it look ugly and has bad CGI, but also it's like unimaginatively lit as well, with everything just being that kind of like really generic. Yeah, it looks like Man of Steel, like not Man of Steel, like not kind of Man of Steel. Is that where everything like explodes and makes it look darker because there's so much like debris?
Yeah. I mean, that's like a thing in general, you know, like where, yeah, like a kind of blurring effect where you kind of like, wait, what? You kind of squint your eyes and work out what's going on in this action scene.
The nadir of that and all is bloody Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. The end of that where they fight that massive like sludge monster.
Where the only thing live the set is just the terrible like amber street lights and stuff, and it looks fucking awful. Yeah, it's like that, like unnatural ways of lighting your action scenes. Yeah, so it just takes you out of the experience.
Heath, you want to make a defense of Batman v Superman now, don't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's my it's my second favorite film now that I've seen Noah. Again.
Now you see Noah.
Yeah. Like the first time I saw Noah, I wasn't on board, but now after seeing it again, and not hearing most of it because we were talking over it, very much on board.
Yeah, it's very like, I do think there is elements of so bad it's good. Like, you know, like you gotta love like Ray Winston's terrible performance. Anthony Hopkins looking for berries, like that's terrible. Russell Crowe.
Yeah, God knows why he agreed to be in this film. Like, it couldn't have been much fun to film. Like, well, I suppose it's all against a green screen. It's probably a really easy paycheck, isn't it? It's weird and all to think this film is like a big attempt to do like you associate Christian films like now with being like, you know, tat that looks like it were filmed for like £10 and like like this like film over 100 million, massive studio releasing it, like it's like the first attempt to do like a biblical epic since like the Ben-Hur era. Like, is it?
No.
What's an attempt to do like a Christian film more recent than that?
There's like Egypt Gods and Kings and like.
Oh yeah, actually, there's a rash of those that came out, weren't they? Like recently,
yeah. There's quite a lot of like historically epics that kind of got big. Basically after Gladiator.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like after Gladiator, there's a whole bunch of stuff in like historical epics, and then also with the historical epics, we do tend to go hand in hand with like religious side.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Kingdom of Heaven or, you know, something like that. So no, it was fairly big in the early 2000s, and then it kind of went out of vogue again because most of those films were terrible.
Well, I think the reason why I forgot about any of them until you mentioned them is because they're so forgettable, and it's hard to like. Yeah.
It's like it's easy to forget that like 3 years ago they remade Ben-Hur.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was in it?
No, like nobody, but like it came out in cinemas and everything, like on a big budget.
And no one went and saw it. Yeah. No one
saw it. No one remembers it.
Like, what's the Exodus God of Egypt? Is that one as well?
That's like Moses-y stuff with like Christian Bale and Ridley Scott and yeah.
Is this like the most successful one of those kind of films then?
Maybe, yeah, but probably, maybe. Yeah, I'd probably say so, yeah. Like, if you're looking at like religious ones, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because out of those films you mentioned, really only Gladiator is successful, and obviously, you know, Gladiator's not like really like
biblical
or anything like that, yeah. Yeah, probably. It did do relatively okay from the look of it.
I think over 300 million on a budget of 130, like,
yeah.
Didn't start the extended universe that we would have wanted, though.
The biblical extended universe. Yeah. Really, that the film should have ended with what's he called, Ham, who went out into the world. Yeah, it should have ended like in a post-credits with him like meeting like a biblical character of significance. You know.
Oh yeah, like what about if like he bumps into like Jesus or something?
I'm putting together a team.
I would have liked like a Methuselah prequel. You know, Methuselah, a Bible story. You know, similar to Solo.
Yeah, a Bible story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is he looking for those berries?
Exactly.
The film seems to answer.
We can find out how he got the name Methuselah, and
like his full name's like Methuselah Gonalago, and the guy's like, "That's too hard to say. I'm just calling you Methuselah," which is like an actual scene in Solo.
God, Solo. So we're not getting to Solo. Maybe in a separate thing.
Solo is something else. Yeah.
Have you seen Solo yet, Heath?
Oh yeah. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it's how I feel as well.
You know.
The worst parts of it are terrible, like the like you were saying, the Solo naming thing.
Like Amelia Clark.
Yeah. Clark,
yeah.
I feel like Paul Bettany like overacting. Like that was kind of mildly fun, but that's pretty much it, really.
The feminist robot's the nadir of that.
Jesus.
Where
Christ.
it's implied that she's fucked Lando somehow.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Anyway, that's pretty far off topic from. I think the problem with Noah as well is that it's trying to force like the structure of like a big Hollywood film onto like this story.
Yeah.
Like Noah is alternatively like an absolute monster, and then he has like his moment. The moment of redemption in the end of this film just comes absolutely out of nowhere. I feel.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that Noah would actually save these children based on like the inhuman monster that we've seen so far.
No, definitely not. No. He just seems like a crazy person. You know, like the fact that his family are kind of just going along with his harebrained scheme and not asking any questions for like the 15 years where they first learned that God's going to wipe out the earth to like getting on the boat. But like that's when we start asking questions. It's like, really? Like it never comes up in that time. And as if you listen to the commentary track before, one of my biggest gripes is like how the elements of like how the time skip works.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Ray Winston and his army of miscreants, take that the first, fall of rain is that's why we've got to attack the Ark because now God's going to destroy the earth. So we're supposing that God's, not like, it's not rained for like 15 years. But then I expect people's defense of that would be, well, it's God,
He let Tuba Khan know, so Tuba Khan could then attack Noah to test Noah, you see.
Yeah.
He got into his mind to tell him the first rain was a sign, you see.
Yeah. It's kind of like how, the defenders of like Star Wars prequels defend all the terrible like plot decisions. You're like, oh, it's the will of the Force. It's the will of the Force that brought Anakin and Padme together on this random planet in Tatooine because the Force wanted it to be so. And
yeah.
It's good. It's kind of like that kind of level of screenwriting, really.
Well, I suppose in a biblical epic, you can say God willed everything into being. But yeah, it's incredibly lazy screenwriting. Yeah,
it's really lazy screenwriting. Yeah.
And his family are so badly like. There's just absolutely no character development for any of the. Like they're just, as you say, they just are wherever like the scene needs them to be.
Yeah, like whatever the writer needs them to do, like they'll do it. That's all they're there for. They're blank slates. There's not a lot to them, and that's kind of the great shame because like I do stand by that at the core. They wanted to get to the whole idea that Noah ends his journey as a drunken mess.
Yeah,
I think it's quite an interesting way to end the story, even though we seem to imply that like he ends up being okay in the end. But like I do think that is an interesting end goal for a character, and he could make a really interesting film about how this decision has basically torn his family apart and how it's affected them. Like like at its core, I do think there's a seed of a really good idea to Noah. I'm not Anthony Hopkins' seed, but which could make which could make it interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing at all is that it is like a really, really dark story at its core. Like the humanity gets wiped out, but it never because it's trying to be like a PG-13, 12A rated film. It can't go into like how horrible things really are. Like all that you show now, like it doesn't even show you how awful humanity is, really, because they're all in Russell Crowe's imagination.
Yeah.
Like we see a scene where it's like they sacrifice in hilarious fashion. They throw a sheep around, and they rip that apart, and they're like selling children. But that's not actually happening. That's in Russell Crowe's head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why couldn't there be a scene where one of the kids gets lost in like the with Ray Winston, and then we go on like a thing, and it's essentially like a Sodom and Gomorrah style like hedonistic hellhole.
Yeah.
That'd be brilliant if like Russell Crowe's wandering around. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say they were keeping that for the sequels, so in the the whole Sodom and Gomorrah thing.
Oh, yeah. That could have been like your little sequel bait though, that they had
yeah. Help! I need to find a wife. I know a place. I maybe walk past a sign, which is a sign that says, 50 miles to Sodom and Gomorrah. Boom. That's how it ends. Who put that sign there? It doesn't matter. It just ends the audience with a big tease.
But it could have been like Jimmy Stewart in like It's a Wonderful Life, where he's like walking around going, oh no, look at everything, and it's like Russell Crowe going around, and it's like there's like prostitutes everywhere, like children on like pieces of string, like oh my god,
hello Bedford Falls, Pottersville, we can't be Pottersville.
There's an amazing bit in It's a Wonderful Life where like he goes around the like town, everything's awful. And like it's his wife.
Oh no, yeah.
And he's like, he's like, no. And all it is that she's at a library.
Well, yeah, it's a funny scene where where Clarence and Jimmy Stewart are like in the graveyard, isn't it? And he's like, where's my wife? Where's my wife, Mary? And Clarence is like, you're not gonna like it, George. He's like, what happens to her? She's working at the library and she never married. It's like, she's not married and she's an educated woman. No. It's the dumbest shit.
Noah just walks around the town. It's just full of librarians. No,
women educated. No,
drowned harlots.
We're gonna bring back the patriarchy. That's what we need.
Well, actually, it would be quite good for everyone in a library, because surely the flood would ruin all the books.
Oh yeah. Wiping out all that free education and all that sort of stuff. Fuck that. Noah's the only one we can read now in this universe.
But yeah, like they should have gone more into like, I suppose that is quite a dark concept if humanity is actually like so rotten that the flood is a good thing within this universe.
Yeah.
But that would be too interesting for this film to explore, I suppose.
Well, that's the stupidest thing where like I think the screenwriter must have realised that thus far it was all fairly fire and brimstone, like all of humanity is terrible, so they can all be wiped out.
Yeah.
So to basically prove that the film is quote unquote ambiguous, they add in a character that Ham meets before the flood, who's this innocent-ish woman, who he barely spends any screen time with. They have no chemistry together, and then that's Ham's like she was innocent. So it's like some of humanity was good, but the film doesn't spend any time exploring that as a concept. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the moral ambiguity at the center of the film should have been was Noah ethically right to do what he's done? You know what I mean? It's kind of like how a lot of people on the internet, stupid people, defend like Thanos' decision to wipe out 50% of the planet.
Oh yeah.
Like you could make that into a film. You know what I mean? Like, and explore that as a concept.
Yeah.
Obviously, ultimately, what he's done is abhorrent.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting core to a film. At the end of the day, it's okay that Noah's a bastard.
Yeah.
Like that's fine, and that's a good core for like your drama.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think they were more interested in doing CGI rock monsters and.
Well, a more interesting film would be Noah isn't an outcast; he's a member of the community. But the community he sees as going. How good would it be if he's just like really conservative, wants his like little family there, and he sees like things becoming more and more like Sodom and Gomorrah-ish, and that's why he wants to build the ark. And then because he's integrated into it, he doesn't even have to go into the town. You just see it through his eyes, kind of thing.
And then you've got instant drama then for all the family members, because they're you know, well, I've got a life here, you know, I've got a nice boyfriend here or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, because fuck if he's sticking to the Bible, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't think Darren Aronofsky really.
Well, there's rock monsters are in the Bible.
Yeah, so
No,
if
he
you're
wasn't
gonna-
really. He wasn't even close to the
Yeah.
Bible. Like he got
So, like,
sort of the very very like broad strokes of it. Like you know
yeah.
the
So, like,
flood,
if
the
he's just
two
going for-
animals, that sort of thing.
You got the base foundation of the story.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Yeah. So like, if that's what he's going for, if he's just going for the broad strokes, then why not try to like, you know, humanize the characters and like try and make them vaguely compelling. You know, I've got a life here. I don't want my, you know, nice boyfriend being killed or whatever. You know, like basic stuff.
Yeah.
Make you care and get invested in the character's drama. Instead, no one asks Noah for 15 years what the fucking plan is. You know, like why is he doing this, what he's doing, and yeah, you end up with just the characters looking dumb as fuck. Like shit, we've got ourselves into this terrible situation with this fucking madman on board. Like, where do we go from here?
It was just the wrong decision to make him an outcast. Like
Yeah.
that's the core problem of the film. Like because of that, all the other problems flow from that. Really, like yeah. And like Tubal Khan could have been like the almost mayor of the. Ray Winston could have been like the mayor of the city or whatever, or like whatever. I don't know if they had the concept of a mayor then, obviously, but like whatever it would be, the leader of the town. And he could have been, you know, like happy with the way it was going, and then he didn't want to see the whole town destroyed by a giant flood, kind of thing. Yeah,
Like basic things.
he could have been way more sympathetic than he is in this, where like beginning of the film, he just wants to like slaughter Noah and steal the ship. Then he's like chewing on the animals when they're like down there, and then at the end he's gonna like rape like all the women on the boat and then kill all the men. Like yeah, like it's
so like he starts with film wanting to kill Noah, and he ends with film wanting to kill Noah. It's like there's no like natural progression.
yeah,
like, to him as like a character, which is like again one of the huge fundamental flaws where no one acts like humans. And that is an interesting way of adapting a Bible story. I think because we are so divorced from what our concepts are of what makes a person a person, because we are just figures to spew out morality, lessons and morality tales, and like whatever filmmakers have tried to humanize biblical characters, I think they're trying to go into controversial territory. Like was it the Last Temptation of Christ with William Dafoe?
Oh yeah, great film.
Yeah, great film. But controversial because it's the one where like
Jesus fucks.
Yeah, Jesus fucks. Yeah, Jesus. Says we're Magdalene, and it's kind of like, oh, you made him into a vaguely human person, but the fact that they didn't feel the need to go that far. Like, if they're gonna put fucking rock monsters in the film, like if they can at least make an attempt to not make these characters into stock, like morality totems, like like this is the lesson.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a giant mess, and it's like because I think if you are going to go for like we're talking about extended universe for the Bible, the reason why none of the extended universe projects have worked, apart from like we brought up when during the film Russell Crowe's career, and he was in The Mummy,
the Dark Universe,
universe, is like there isn't like Marvel, like that's based on like these years and years of characters established in the comic books. Because they were forced to pick like the shitter characters because they sold them all off at the beginning, they had to try and make them interesting. Like everyone forgets Iron Man 4 and stuff. They were like the dregs basically that they couldn't sell to anyone after they'd sold off their like Fantastic Fours and stuff. Like so they have to actually invest all this time to make them like interesting. But like fucking Noah, like there's just nothing there in him. Like same reason Star Wars doesn't work. It's such a small universe that like when you try and expand it out and stuff and adapt each individual bit into it, it just doesn't work because they're like stock characters who aren't supposed to have this much like.
Well, yeah, because like you look at like any of like the Star Wars spin-off films, at the minute we're not dealing with like Star Wars, like lightsabers and Skywalkers and that sort of stuff. It kind of all collapses because the mythology's not.
Yeah,
mythology's just not there basically.
How long would you say the Noah thing is in the Bible? Like 30 pages, Heath, or is it longer than that?
It's no, it's not that long. It's not that long. It's still in Genesis, so I don't think Genesis itself is like 30 pages long. Like, so, yeah, no, I don't. It's definitely not that long. Yeah, I would like probably say it'd be about 2 or 3 pages, maybe at most.
Yeah, there's not enough in those 2 and
Yeah.
3 pages to make it to this whole thing. I don't think.
Well,
And we thought Peter
though,
Jackson
you know,
stretched it with Hobbit.
if you're talking about like a sort of extended universe and that sort of thing, the biggest issue like with the Bible would be that there is like very little like crossover in regards to like
Yeah.
figures, like because it's a a historical recount, big air quotes, historical recount of
Yeah, like it's
things.
very linear, isn't it? It
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
from
it's
like
like
one generation
this
to the
happened and
next.
then this happened and now this other thing exciting happened, but this was like 20 years later. Uh, so
But
that's
again, if you're adding rock monsters in there, then like, why not?
yeah.
You know,
Oh
I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
Um,
I think yeah. Well, yeah. No, I think he sort of he did pick the wrong thing to focus on in this, and like he should have really uh, focused on the sort of family dynamic and that sort of thing rather than the big spectacle of rock monsters and wars with people and that sort of thing. And you can see that he tried to do it like with the whole Ham uh, uh, storyline or arc or whatever you want to call it, through line. Definitely tried it there, but just absolutely like failed miserably. Like you just don't like you like you didn't sort of he didn't like really spend the time building up the resentment and that sort of thing that like that Ham has for him, because it does come out of nowhere. Like he waits the last minute to find them wives, the other two sons' wives, waits till the absolute last minute, goes into town, goes, oh, they're all awful, comes back and says, no, you're not having wives, and then basically Ham runs off into the town and meets that girl who is killed like an hour and a half later. Like, like there's nothing like sort of there at all, or um, you could have basically had a situation where Ham, like if you're working within the like realms of the movie, that earlier on he gets goes into town and finds suitable women to be wives and that sort of thing, and then maybe there was like conflict or whatever, and the wife goes back into town and that, and then the flood sort of happens, and then you've built up this relationship between Ham and his wife, and then Noah's all like, no, leave her, she's wicked and wrong and blah 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 blah. uh and then that would be a better sort of thing, like a better tension between those two, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You could have even had Ham have like a wife who's pregnant or something, and then they have to leave her behind, and then like that would also mean Ham could be jealous of his brother, and then it could like feed into why Russell Crowe thinks that like they're doomed. Like if it's the exact same thing, cheesy thing where she gets like, in fact, you could have her like trampled by everyone, and that feeds into why he thinks humanity's awful. Maybe then Ham thinks humanity's awful as well and agrees with him, and then both of them sort of have to go against Shem and the daughter or something. But if his wife was pregnant, that could make Russell Crowe could think she was killed by God or something, showing they're all evil, and then it would also be like almost like you could draw parallels between him trying to kill a child, and then the reason he's upset is because humanity killed the child. Something more interesting, at least. Like,
or like if you wanted the you could still do that and then have um the the tension between Ham and Shem, and have that mirroring the story of like Cain and Abel, and that is what sort of, because that's something from you know uh like Noah's recent history, I suppose you could say. So it's a story that you know he's well versed in, and this is something that's happening again, and it's sort of showing the cyclical nature of this problem, and that could be the thing that sort of pushes him over the edge as well, like him going, like this is all happening again. What is the point in humanity? So there's so many better ways you could have done this.
It does, yeah, literally dozens and dozens of different ways, yeah.
Yeah, I reckon that Darren Aronofsky probably at some point had the chance of making either this over $100 million spectacle, or like maybe a $30 million like family drama, and chose the spectacle.
Yeah.
I imagine that there probably would have been a time we could, but like he should have gone with a cheaper film on a lower budget just to try and make like.
Well, that's the thing, because like this was basically like his dream project, and I guess if you present with $100 million to make a dream project, even if the timing's not right, I can understand the temptation for him to kind of maybe go in slightly unprepared, I guess.
Well, we're reading that he'd been working on this since 2000, since after Requiem for a Dream.
Jesus.
And then, like, he had to do other projects like The Wrestler, and I think Black Swan was massive.
Yeah, Black Swan was big, yeah.
And that's the thing that, and like, obviously it won like Best Actress, and it was like nominated for a bunch of Oscars as well, and like that was the thing that pushed him in able to like have the like to actually be able to go on making my dream project this. But yeah, for a dream project, it's just like so generic. Anyone could have made the film the exact same way as well. Like, it feels weirdly indistinct. Yeah,
like the things that are and the things that are sort of what you would say, again, big air quotes, interesting about it. Are those that time lapse bullshit and all that sort of thing, and it's like it's not good. Like.
No.
Like if that's your like personal style, your personal signature that's on the film, like at least make it good. But it's so bad and it's so on the nose and it's so awful and just, I hate it. I mean, I love it. I love Noah. It's the best film ever.
Well, you love it because of its contradictions, not in spite of them, don't you? Like?
Yes.
Yeah,
Just like how I love the Bible.
Or what about if it was a modern day retelling of Noah?
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, like he sees a vision and of saying they're gonna wipe out this wicked world, and he has to start building his ark to save like just his family. Like
they've already made it. It's called Evan Almighty.
Oh, you
furious Evan Almighty, essentially.
You ruined the joke. I was gonna rather than Russell Crowe, maybe like Steve Carell or someone like that. He's done some really good dramatic work lately.
I could feel an Evan Almighty or a Steve Carell reference coming on, so I'm seizing the chance.
It's his character from Foxcatcher, is the
yeah, that's right, yeah. Oh man!
And then you only could spend like 15 minutes on the actual arc itself, like it's all build up and whether he's mental crazy or not, and then like the ending is like But anyway, it's just not very good. It's like it's a compromised project that should just never have been made like this. Like
now, that said, I do recommend people watch it at least once.
Yeah,
because like the decisions are so baffling, and everything that kind of goes into the film is so strange. Like to see someone's vision on screen, it'd be so like this is the result. I think it's kind of fascinating. I think I would probably have switched it off if I was watching it by myself after the big battle scene. I think that's when the film
I was gonna say, if it were 90 minutes, which it should be, I would be on board with you, but it is just too long. It's too self-indulgent, and do not give him the pleasure of watching it.
No, true. Yeah, you don't want to have him have those Netflix views adding up. Yeah,
exactly.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. I suppose maybe watch a sizzle reel on YouTube of like all the strangest moments of it.
Yeah. Although if you're gonna watch it, make sure you have like us talking over it in the background. Definitely do that.
Yeah, watch it subtitled with us talking about anything under the sun apart from Noah while it plays.
Until I randomly get pissed off with something and then like actually start talking about the Bible or whatever.
Yeah.
There are no rock monsters! 15 minutes later, still talking about rock monsters and how they're not in the Bible.
I do think though we should do a commentary chat. The next thing we should do like this is you've seen El Topo, but the Holy Mountain.
Oh yeah,
we just sent a message about, but because that film must have enough to react to as it's playing. Like
to be honest with you, even when watching El Topo, it was kind of like
we could have done that.
just like what, like why?
I remember a scene in that where like the high elders of the earth burn a pile of money in a big circle, and it's supposed to be really deep. But yeah, it's not good.
Is the pile of money deep?
Yeah, it is actually. It looks deep.
It
Yeah.
looks deep, but it's not. It's just like newspaper underneath.
Any I think I said Michael isn't thoughts on Noah now. Anything from the two of you?
No, I've already said don't watch it.
Yeah.
I would go as saying maybe yeah. I agree with Heath ultimately. Yeah, don't give Darren Aronofsky the pleasure of another view on Netflix. Just watch a sizzle reel if you're curious of like the worst scenes, and yeah, maybe call it quits there.
In conclusion, if Darren Aronofsky says, "Do you want to watch my 2014 film?" just say no. Huh?
I mean, get out of there.
Let's end on that no up on.
Yeah, let's just end our lives.